for the Other Three Amigos podcast. Your unofficial Cork City FC podcast. Tweet us on Twitter using the hashtag TOTAP. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Contact us, pod@totap.ie. Sit back, put your feet up. It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast.
It's season 5, episode 275 of everyone's favourite and unofficial Cork City FC podcast. We have a temporary host for the pod and a special guest borrowed from TOTAP Las Damas. We discuss the huge news from this weekend with Tim Clancy leaving Cork City FC, and we also cover possible candidates for his replacement. Cathal O'Sullivan's almost certain summer transfer comes up for conversation. We open up the mailbag. We review the Derry game and preview the upcoming game away to St. Pat's. All this and more in this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Welcome everybody to episode 275 of the Other Three Amigos podcast. You are in for a very special treat this week. I am your host, the original, the only Rebel Chief, and tonight I am joined by the one and only Declan McCormack and a very special guest, borrowed, stolen, retrieved from TOTAP Las Damas, Eileen Ring. Eileen, over to you first and foremost, ladies first. Welcome.
Thanks, lads. A kind of a late substitution. Though, yeah, I'm sorry. Declan McCormack says people want to hear from me. I presume my mother was texting him. But yeah, great to be here. And sure, look, it's been a quiet enough week, so I don't have anything to say, so it's great.
Actually, look, I wasn't going to bring it up, but if you wouldn't mind asking your mum to stop texting me, please. You know, it's getting a little awkward now, you know.
She'll text you after this, to kill you.
Jeez. Interesting stuff. And yeah, look, we are missing Wayne and Dan tonight for various reasons, and we wish them both all the best. And yeah, I guess then we'll get right on with it with Academy Watch. An absolute fantastic week for our academy. We'll, of course, cover the grim aspects of the club soon enough for everyone who thinks that this pod is going to completely gloss over incidents over the last couple of days. But starting off for our under-20s, they beat Cove 3-1. Under-17s beat Cove 3-2. The 15s beat Cove 5-1. And the 14s beat Cove 4-0. So Cove cementing their place as our B team at academy level as well. And just honourable mentions there as well in terms of the scorers. O'Sullivan, O'Shea and Rickson both on the score sheet for both the 17s and the 15s in the same weekend. So shout out there to the lads. And yeah, Dec, over to you.
I'm just wondering, Dec, on the back of that, do we think any of the Cove Academy coaches might be under pressure now this week?
I don't have the under pressure jingle to play for that one, Dec. But yeah, look, they very well could be. You never know. You never know.
It's like...
With that, the moment you've all been waiting for, Commie Watch.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Every time I hear that jingle, I just miss Santa more and more and more, don't you? Just, you know, his wide-ranging skills. But anyway, what an absolute tumultuous weekend for the club. I guess it all started, I guess maybe you could argue, at the full-time whistle for the Derry game. So yeah, obviously the huge breaking news on Friday, about an hour and a half after full-time, the club announced that Tim Clancy had resigned from his position. The statement was quite clear and crystal clear in the fact that it was Tim's decision to step away. And of course, we held a live X space or Twitter space immediately after the breaking news, of which around 800 City fans in total dialed into. So massive thanks to everyone there. And if you do want to listen back to that, we did manage to retrieve 40 minutes of it in honor of Santa's abilities there again, and it is available on our Patreon. So head over to patreon.com/TOTAP to grab a listen to that. But I guess just in the I guess with the news that Tim has gone, and I don't even know where to begin on this one. So, Dec, over to you, and your thoughts on how it was handled. I guess from full time, we can cover the Derry game, of course, later. If anyone's even interested in listening to the review of the Derry game,
There was a game.
Yeah, apparently, allegedly, yeah. But I guess, Dec, what are your thoughts, Tim resigning?
I'm personally disappointed. I think it throws a huge dark cloud over the club again. I know the Twitter Spaces was on Friday night. I know I was on it. It's about as much as I know, to be honest with you. I know I expressed an opinion on Friday night. I just don't know what that opinion was. But look, it's disappointing. It's unsatisfactory, I think, from a fan's point of view. Look, when we lost the game on Friday night, the first thoughts in my head was, okay, we have to get ready for the pod Monday night, where we have to have a discussion about Tim Clancy's suitability to continue as Cork City manager. That conversation had to take place. And I was like, okay, I'm still in favour, because I don't believe he's got the backing in a number of areas that he needed to give him the best possible chance of doing the best possible job he could. Obviously, the need for that conversation was removed pretty quickly. No manager who has won 2 of 15 games is going to get away with not having a conversation about their future. It's just not going to happen. And I think Tim has told people that, it's a results business. The results he delivered weren't good enough, and he takes full responsibility for that, which is, I think that's fair of him. It's noble of him. At the moment, he's not throwing anybody under a bus, from what I hear. He's not willing to have conversations with media, really, or with podcasts, or, thing. Those will come in time. But for the moment, he's not seeking to have those conversations, and you have to respect that. It's just shines such a light back on the club again. The internal workings of the club, how we're structured. Like, there's so many areas here that worked into, I think, Tim's decision. And look, it was complete frustration. You don't quit on the pitch, kind of three minutes after full time, unless you're at the end of your tether about something. I genuinely wish the club did not put out the statement they put out on Friday night. I just don't understand how we just don't say, okay, Tim is obviously upset. Tim may be saying, listen, you might as well put it out because I'm not coming back, or I'm not continuing in the role. That's fair. Doesn't matter if you put it out at 10 minutes past 11 on a Friday night, or 10 minutes past 11 on the Saturday morning when everybody's talked at 9 o'clock and Tim has confirmed, yeah, no, lads, look, I'm out of here. I slept on it overnight. I'm out of here. I just think there was a rush to put it out, and I don't understand why. Maybe there was something happening. Maybe there was inner workings that we're not aware of. But I always think in those situations, everybody just needs to take a deep breath, stand back, have a sleep, have a think. And if everybody feels the same way in the morning, by all means, do it then. But
do you think, Dec, do you think, I agree with you there, like the handling of that and the tweet coming out at what time was it? Like 11 o'clock or
10 past 11.
10 past 11.
10 past 11 Friday night.
I 100% agree with you. And I don't care what circumstances went on or whatever. At what stage do you pull all hands on deck there and get like the social media guy who's probably driving home from the game, who only left the ground a half an hour earlier, to be like, get on, post this quick. Like, to me, it just screams of like paranoia again, and the fact that, the club worry that we'll wake up on Saturday morning and the news will be everywhere, and look, I'll say it straight out, I don't give a damn anymore. Like, the lads from the pod will have it tweeted before we get to tweet it. Like, I can't see any other reason, to be honest. And that's not me putting TOTAP on a pedestal or whatever, but like, we've seen it in the past, like that this types of paranoia and this type of thing. That's my opinion on it. That's what I think happened anyway. I can't see any other reason.
Maybe so. Look,
like sleeping. I've been involved in a situation before, to be honest, and I've never told this to anyone, but I've been involved in a situation before where a Cork City manager, half hour after full time, after losing a game, came up to me and said, "I'm gone." And I remember I told him, "Give me at least 20 minutes." I rang Brian Lennox, told him, I said, "What do we do here?" Brian was like, "Cool the jets, talk to him tomorrow, don't take any resignation. Don't." I said, "No, he's gone." He's like, he's finished, and called out to Brian the next day. We sorted it out, and no one ever knew the wiser, and so be it. But like,
yeah, and that's it. Like, and look, here's the thing. Yes, we would have had it probably. Cork's a small place, and people saw what happened on the pitch. Like, this is the first thing. It happened on the pitch. Tim went to Aina, and I said this on Friday night because I remember saying it. Tim went to Aina and basically quit on the pitch. That's fine. That's okay. People have seen it. Who cares? By Saturday, you can come out and say, "Don't know what all this hullabaloo about. Tim is remaining as manager and all this stuff is just bullshit," like, you know? Or you can say, "Yeah, look, this has happened. Tim's gone. So be it." I'm not buying into your thought process, to be honest, that it's about, or the pod will have it and we'll have it.
Or the Echo, or whoever.
Yeah, 950. Look, I'm going to play something here, right? And before people think, I know who this is, and we've never done this before, but I just wanted to give an insight for people so they kind of know what things happen. Like, I wasn't in Turner's Cross on Friday night. I haven't tried to hide that. Everybody knows where I was on Friday night. Or anybody who listened to the Twitter space certainly knows where I was on Friday night. It wasn't Turner's Cross because there was no alcohol available in Turner's Cross. But like,
there isn't Easy Living Suite.
The game finished, and at 9:51, which is approximately about 6 minutes after the game finished, I got this voice note on WhatsApp.
Sorry, Decky. I don't know if you saw it or anybody else saw it, but Tim went over to Aina and he was doing the fucking, like the hand signal to the neck thing, as if like, "I'm gone, I'm gone." And it was Tim saying to Aina, and Aina had a fucking surprised face. I did it like 3 or 4 times, and he was getting very close to him. So I don't know what that means, but I would not be surprised if Tim's gone off tonight, play his own accord, just judging off that fucking, because he looked fucking furious going to Aina, and when he walked away from Aina, looked fucking like he just seen a ghost.
No, before anybody says, "I know who that is, I recognise that voice," etc., that's an AI version, word for word, but that's the AI version. So it's not Tom from down the road who you were in school with for 5 years or whatever.
We've obfuscated this deck to make it sound as feminine as possible. So that, at least anyway, they'll give a hint that the voice note was male. And but
the point,
of course,
the point is, there's enough there for us to tweet it if we want to. In my opinion, we didn't.
Yeah,
we bought some journalistic integrity and said, "Look, let's just wait to see what happens."
And we don't get involved in that kind of silly hearsay in any way, Dick. We're bigger than that. We're bigger than that.
You know. So, look, it's disappointing. There's an awful lot going on. There was an awful lot going on. Tim had massive issues, I think, around the medical side of the club. Not enough people there. It's ironic today that this week we brought in somebody as kind of a recovery specialist, which is something I believe Tim has basically been fighting for 18 weeks. And the week that guy comes in, Tim has left, But should it take 18 months for the medical side of the club to be boosted and additions made? Definitely not. Obviously not. Look at the number of injuries we have this year. Is there a correlation between the two? Probably is. And it's not that the people who are there are not of good quality. They are. There's just not enough of them, And that then goes to the support staff. We all know that story, We know Colin Healy was offered the job. Colin was interested in taking the job. Club couldn't close the deal. People cannot make their own assumptions as to why the club couldn't close the deal. All this stuff is going on in the background. There's a lot of it going on for 18 months. And the whole time that Tim is here, he's fighting and he's fighting, and like you hear stuff today and stories about Tim collecting players from the airport, new signings, dropping them to their accommodation, going in, putting beds together, you know, hanging curtains, this kind of stuff, like stuff that managers shouldn't be doing. But like no, I can't say for definite that's true, but these are the kind of stories that are around the place.
Hold on a second. I did a day's work now today before I delved into the TOTAP group. What's this now about curtains and beds?
Just that, you know, Tim would have to go collect somebody from the airport, say, you know, Declan Carey's joining on loan from Leeds, which would be Declan Carey's absolute, you know, pinnacle of anything. But, you know,
I'd be gutted if I was going from Leeds back to Cork City. Anyway.
Yeah, manager
no
collects him in the airport, drops him to the house. All of a sudden, oh Christ, there's a bed in the box. I better put the bed together. So, which are for you? Okay, we need to hang. You know, this kind of stuff. No, look, I'm not sitting here saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that these stories are around the place. Some will be true, some won't be true.
Yeah, of course. But, that sounds a bit. That's so ridiculous to me that I just can't believe that's true. I've heard stories in the past of people in the club double jobbing and going down to the players' houses and, you know,
cleaning
helping
houses,
them with something or whatever, and all
cleaning
this,
and doing all this kind of stuff.
Eileen, while Declan takes a drink of water there, can you just pass over to yourself, because I'm conscious you haven't expressed your thoughts yet, and we'll give Dec a bit of a break because this is going to be a lengthy one. I think we can probably do 3 parts of tonight's pod, but
I think you said there, Declan, that you think it's so ridiculous it can't be true. Is it not so ridiculous that it has to be true? Realistically, there now, like, and that, as you said,
I just know in my time, Eileen, if I heard that Colin Healy or Neil Fenn or any of them, I would have let Caulfield and Cots go down making beds all they want, whatever they're up to. But my managers, like, no, I wouldn't have them doing that kind of carry on. Like, it's just, oh my God, no, I can't.
Yeah, look, and I think we are going to hear. There's going to be an awful lot of stories. There's going to be rumours. That's the nature of football. Declan says Cork is a small place. The football community in Ireland is a very small place. Everybody knows everybody, and stories get around. But like, for me, I was disappointed when I woke Saturday morning to the news, to my 467 WhatsApp messages. I was disappointed. It just seems like a really, I suppose, look, he's obviously an emotional man, and he just makes the decision right there and then. He wasn't backing down from it. Again, I agree with the two of you. You have to give, like, say, we're not going to announce this until the morning to sleep on it, because I don't know. Look, I think, to be fair to Tim, as well as the 100 jobs he clearly had at Cork City, I think that commute's really, really tough. Being away from your family is really hard. You've an awful lot of thinking time driving up and down that road, like, a couple of times a week. An awful lot of thinking time. Maybe managers, look, I think we heard this before we signed or brought in Clancy, like, that managers were a little bit wary of the way the club was being run, in terms of maybe one of the ownership group having too kind of big a hand in the football side of things. And I think that word is out there around Ireland, and that's, again, it's a small world. All these managers are all on the same coaching pathways. They're all on the same coaching courses, on their development courses. They're all together. Everybody talks and word gets around. And instead, I think maybe Tim came in. I know Wayne always says it, and I always agree with him. We are one of the biggest clubs in the country, and I'll never think any different. So to me, it should be a really attractive job for a manager. And I think if a manager comes in, and look, managers are dreamers. Like, football people are dreamers. We all are. Football fans are dreamers as well. And you think, no, I can turn this into something special, and I can turn this around. And yeah, I've heard X, Y, or Z, but I think I'll be able to get a handle on it. And look, that just didn't happen, and it is disappointing. I would have liked to seen him given a bit more time. The other side of it, I understand the thing with the budget, and maybe he wasn't given a big enough budget. I think the budget we had has been mismanaged as well. But is that him, or is that the transfer committee Declan speaks so highly of? We just don't know. I think we blew our load on the 2 lads last summer, and that's unfortunately. And look, that's football, because if they're both playing and they stay fit, that's brilliant.
Know about it.
Thanks, Eileen, for confirming that football clubs do indeed blow their loads anyway, like they don't do the other thing. But anyway, I said last week I've already sunk into the lads level now, so there you go.
But like, I just think it's just not worked out, and that's a shame. Like, again, we all could have told you Sean Maguire is going to get a load of injuries. I think you're talking about medical staff and support staff. It's the squad depth that's killed us injury-wise this year. I don't necessarily think it's an S&C or a physio thing. I think the volume of games, and we have no chance to rest people. Like, Daniels has come in, and he hasn't played in 6 months. He's just been flogged. Like, he's playing every minute. Of course he's going to pick up knocks. Like, if you're playing, but again, that's something that has to be known at the start of the season. This first half of the League of Ireland season is so top heavy with fixtures because they break them in for the European games later on, and you have all the double headers. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I was going to jump into Deck earlier about the medical thing. I don't necessarily I agree with you there, Eileen, because if you look at our injuries, like Shawnee, look, known.
That's mismanagement as well, though. That Waterford, him playing in Waterford that night, he was heavily strapped, his leg was.
Yeah.
And like, you can't be risking a fella like.
Exactly. So that was a management decision. Keating, look, jumping for a header, blows his Achilles on an all-weather pitch. Dykeskill got absolutely clobbered. Cahill got clobbered against Galway. Like, they're one-off, like, whacks that those players got. So, to your point, like, you can't predict for them. And you could have the best physios in the world and, you know, Cahill wasn't coming back any sooner maybe, or I don't know. But, like, yeah.
That's true, Deck. But a manager is going to want to put the best medical team together with the correct number of people in there and whatnot. And the fact that we had injuries that are once off, like Keating, Dykesteele, etc., I don't think should distract from that. Oh,
absolutely,
argument.
Yeah, agreed. You should still have a full team of medical, physio, doctors. You know, absolutely, yeah.
Like, my big thing with a physio is, and I probably don't think we have had somebody that would be as strong as since Joe Normoyle moved full time to the Mardyke, and I know he still does work with the club, but like not on a full time basis. But you need a strong physio because footballers, like, they're soft. Like, do you know what I mean? They are like, I don't think that's kind of a big secret, and you need them to say, no, look, you need to push through this, or no, you do need a rest, and you need to know each individual player. And I don't really think we've had that. I'd argue the same with our S&C. I don't think it's been the same since Kevin Tatton left. And I do think they're two big things that you do have to get right. But I certainly think a lot of our injuries this season, as Declan, you said, like, you have the freak ones. You can't account for them. But muscular things, like, that is a little breakdown in, as said, it's the fixture load, and again, that comes to squad depth. Yeah. And that was just, and we're all saying this. We're saying it since the season started. Like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, Deck predicted that Daniels was gonna fall on Friday. Like, didn't you, Deck? You put a message in the chat saying, like,
well, Phil Long was willing him to fall every game he played. Like,
you actually said when the lineup came up saying, is anyone else concerned about, like, and you used the fancy term like the game load or whatever.
I actually read it because I just looked it up because I was like, I know we never read from the WhatsApp group, but it was actually Monday before the Drogheda game I said it, and I was so sick that Monday. I had a vomiting bug. I couldn't get out of bed. The only time I got out of bed was to go to the toilet to puke me ring out, and then I'd crawl back into the bed again, like, you know. And I literally walked up to the office, got the laptop, put it up in the locker next to the bed, turned over on my side and watched the game. Game finished the way it did, and I went into the jacks and puked me ring up again. Maybe that was the vomiting bug. Maybe it was the 94th minute penalty. We'll never know. But about 10 minutes before the game started, I did put in, lads, I don't know much about player loads, etc. But if a lad hasn't played in 6 months, comes in, starts 4 in a row, and plays for 80 minutes each time, he must be running the risk of a muscle injury by now. You know? And it's like...
Yeah. And this is you, Jack. You're a pundit.
Huge fat lad in bed at fucking 4:30 on that Monday evening talking about lads getting muscle injuries. Like,
I was being more generous. No, I was saying you're a pundit, Dick.
But you know, it's just like, it's like, so if we can see it, and as Eileen said, Jack has just been flogged because the squad isn't there. He has to be flogged. Same way as they probably felt they had to flog Shawnee. They probably felt they had to flog Greg. Greg obviously came back too early. You know, he came back, he played for 60 minutes, and he's gone for another 3 games since, like, you know.
And it's looking like Greg is going to take charge now for Friday night. Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah.
But I guess what are we hearing as well in terms of a new permanent manager? I guess we've put out a tweet there and made our own opinions known.
I mean, Mo's is possibly involved on Friday night as well, Dan Murray. So they're getting that band back together again. Bulger, Murray, Carney, and I guess Greg Yelverton, and probably Anthony Fennelly. That'll be the coaching crew on Friday night, I'd imagine. Beyond that, look, I think I said on the Spaces Friday night that the club have kind of been they were never not in contact with Jordan Ash. Then I was told today that they spoke to Ger Nash while Tim was still in place. Then, Dec, to be fair, you came and said, you had it on good authority that Ger Nash was the prime candidate, the front runner. We're both hearing the same things from very different areas and very different places, so at that stage we were happy enough to tweet it. I think we've satisfied the necessary journalistic integrity requirements to allow us to send that tweet, so that's what we did. We believe Ger Nash is the front runner.
With your sources across the media world, Dec, and elsewhere, and my Bishopstown bloodline, we just can't be stopped. Can we? It's just an unstoppable train.
We have not said he's getting the job. We said
I know.
I'm
just saying in general.
Anyway,
I'm only pulling a few legs anyway. But Anyway, you were saying.
No, Nash? It's just it is what it is at this stage. I think. There was a lot of stuff on Friday night about and been around the place that Tim had obviously checked out, and obviously he opened his family opened a new business in Trim, a big gym.
Do you think
he check out?
Yeah. Do you think he was checked out with all this stuff going on? Lack of support in the backroom team.
Yeah.
No sign of an assistant. Yeah. Hearing whispers about new managers and conversations with guys that were let's be honest, wasn't Ger Nash offered the job before Tim took it?
Yeah.
So
Ger Nash was he had it. He seemingly had it, and for whatever reason, I believe it may have been financial. He was at Aston Villa at the time, and somebody came back and made him a better offer, and we couldn't match it. And whatever way it went, Liam Buckley couldn't get the job, couldn't close the deal, and that was the end of Liam Buckley. He
didn't want to share the car, I heard.
Allegedly, Eileen, is it?
Pass it on.
There's always lots going on around Cork City, and we can't, to be fair here now to Dermot, and I know I called him out on Friday night, and I know I sent a tweet about Usher out and FAI owners out and the rest of it, and from that point on an emotional Friday night, I'm now here on a Monday night, and I've kind of come back from that. Listen, this club cannot go forward if Dermot Usher leaves the club. And I don't want to see Dermot leave the club. What I desperately want to see is Dermot to just step away from the football side of the club and put somebody in there who knows football. A director of football is probably the best way to go, and just somebody who knows football, Dec, and a director of football is probably the best way to go. To me, that's Liam Carney. Other people disagree. But we're now in season 3 of Dermot's reign, 2 Premier Division seasons, neither have gone anywhere near good enough, anywhere near expectation. I'm sure Dermot is somebody who can look in the mirror and figure shit out. And I just hope to God he's figured out that he needs to stay away from the football side of things. Give it to people. He said the day and the presentation that he gave that he would appoint football people to run the football side of the club. He would look after the business and the football people could look after the football side of the club. That now is what he needs to do, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
right?
But they have to be League of Ireland football people, with the best will in the world. He had an incredible playing career, but Damien Delaney's not a League of Ireland football, and that's where the advice is coming from. And I agree with you, because I had a few messages in, we anti the owner now this weekend. And to be honest, I'm not anti the owner, because I think exactly the same as you, Declan. But he has to learn, that he's obviously a very successful businessman, and he's doing great stuff at the club, which is not football related stuff. And you have to be willing to step back and leave the people who being successful in business is one thing, being successful in football, it's another world. And he has to realistically park the sustainable football idea to an extent. I get it, you're not blowing your load, for want of a better word, on, I'm not saying go mad, but there's no football club in the world turning these big profits, none, not the biggest clubs in the world. So we're just being left. And I think, Declan, you said last week, and you're right, fans, they'll start with the manager, it goes to players, and then it's just going to look at the recurring team. And I think he said on some podcast that he's been upset over some of the comments that fans have made. He's going to be a lot more upset, because that's only going to get worse, because until things are going good on the pitch, we're going to look into every single little thing the club do and shout about it and give out about it, because that's the nature of football fans. Our social media at the moment, and I'm normally a big fan of it, is driving me mad, because why are we having this big laugh and a joke? Like, we're in a relegation dogfight. Like, it's not great crack that someone catches a ball up in a TV gantry. Like, this is banana stuff. Like, it's not, like, just keep your powder dry, read the room, read the fan base, and that's just not being done.
You need that seriousness emanating throughout the whole training ground, and like this,
especially at a time like this. There's time for crack and there's a time for videos of everyone having a laugh, but not right now. Like, and instead you have to read the fan base. Like,
just to pick up on something Eileen said there, you know, the fan base and you know, Dermot saying that he was driven off social media and whatnot. That was at a time when the fan base weren't up in arms at all, you know. And it kind of struck me at the time, it was like, when this really hits the fan, like when the shit really hits the fan here, Dermot's going to see a whole different side of Cork, of football, of human nature. And I said this in one of the earlier podcasts, it's emotion. And you've got to understand that people are emotional. This is their football club. People love it like it's their child, you know, that's, you know, your thing. And I was thinking about this over the weekend again, because it's something that comes back a lot. You know, my father brought me to Turner's Cross when I was 6, 7, whatever age I was, back in 1985.
Brutal.
You know, it was cruelty. It was absolute cruelty. And I was thinking on Saturday, walking around the house going, why didn't you take me for a game of golf? Or why didn't you take me to a tennis match or something?
No,
like,
not the golf.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's like you inflicted 40 years of this shit on me, like, you know? And there's so many down times, like just in any football club, there's way more down times than there is up times, like, you know? And people care and people get angry and people get disgusted and people get... It's all emotion. Football is emotion and memories. We spend so much time talking about John O'Flynn, George O'Callaghan, Dave Barry, Pat Morley, John Caulfield, Phil Harrington. You know, why do we do that? Because we love the memories. We love to talk about the good times. There are no good times following Cork City at the moment. And people are going to get far more emotional than they have been at so far. And Dermot needs to realise that the only way that changes is to put a good footballing side that can win games out on the pitch. That's going to take time. And in order to do that, the first thing you have to do is put the correct structures in place. And that's going to cost money. To be fair, I've been told there's a very, very decent summer budget there. That wasn't an issue for Tim, you know, there's money there to spend. Why wasn't that there in the off season when you're putting the squad together originally? Who knows? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. All the indications are that it wasn't. My point is there's probably a lot worse coming for Dermot than he's seen so far. Before it gets better, it's every chance it's going to get worse. But he has to step back from the football side of things, put the correct structures in place, put a director of football in place, and just concentrate on the business side of things and allow the football people to do their jobs. Because the one word that comes out of Bishopstown non-stop is micromanagement, you know? And people just cannot deal with it, you know?
Yeah, do you think that, like, the way the approach has just been incorrect in the sense that, like, it's clear to see from the outside, and I was privy to some of these plans, maybe building up to Forrest not owning the club anymore, around like setting the club up off the pitch with, like, you know, the golf events and the other things and the opera house and the Italian 90s and the comedy nights and all that. Do you think, like, and it's my opinion anyway, at least, that, like, you hit the nail on the head there as well with it, like, you need to set up the footballing structures first, whether that was like stop this like bleeding of money where we're renting houses. Maybe the club needs its own like capital expenditure and assets, you know, set up the right footballing structures, as you said, with like director of football and your footballing aspect of the club, and have that in its entire separate side of the organization. And it needed massive investment. Like, I know people are going to say they're on crazy money, but like, it drives me nuts that like Adam O'Reilly Matt Healy and Josh Honan are not playing with Cork City. And fair enough, you could say, yeah, well, Rovers are giving them $3,000 and Matt Healy's getting $3,500 and Adam O'Reilly's getting nice money up in Derry and whatever. But that's what we needed. Like, we need these like top players, especially the ones from Cork, to be with us. And look, you need top players from other teams as well to be brought in, and that's what it needed. Like, it would have taken huge investment in the first year or two, but then if that happened, I don't think we'd be in this position. Now, it would have taken significantly more investment, but I think it would have just been front loaded at the beginning rather than this kind of drip feeding investment year by year. And then with that, you're only able to give shorter contracts. It looks like we've ploughed most of our budget into Shawnee and Keats, which has been well covered in the past. And it just looks like the squad is top heavy and it's too lean, and we don't have the right structures from a footballing perspective. And as Eileen, as you said, whoever's doing the footballing or giving the footballing advice, I certainly wouldn't be taking it. And there just has to be lessons learned from all this. And like from what I heard as well, I think Tim is meeting Damien Delaney every Monday after games to discuss like team performance and stuff like this. And like, I can't imagine it would have been an easy job for him. And I know everyone's going to, like, most of the reaction I see online seems to be he had to go because 2 wins in 15. And I'd say Tim agrees with that, but like, it's a tough situation. And even still, I don't think as well, and I think we should have learned a lesson from the Neil Fenn situation. So like, I was the chairman when Neil Fenn was brought in, and I'll say with full transparency and honesty, the plan was for Neil to move down to Cork with his wife and kids. And that was what we intended to do. He was going to finish the 2019 season doing this kind of commuting, and we had gotten short-term accommodation for him so that he could manage the club, and he was commuting up on the weekends and whatever. And then once the 2020 season started, everyone was to move down, and plans were in place for that. COVID hit, there was a pandemic. Schools were put into disarray. You know, it couldn't happen. And Neil himself was doing that miserable drive up and down the country. And like, you know, I think we just needed a manager that, and no offense to Tim here, because look, it's what the club agreed, and I'm sure everyone went into it with the best intentions. You need a manager that grabs an absolute hold of the club. The likes of, you know, Pat Dolan, Stephen Kenny, like, is Mr. Dundalk, you know, Damien Duff at the moment is Mr. Shelburne. Like, he eats, lives, and breathes
because they're allowed to be. Because they're allowed to be.
Yeah, but you can't just do that 3 or 4 days a week, and, you know, coming down the day after, or maybe going home after a game and missing the cool down session on a Saturday. Like, I'm not saying Tim did that, but like, I've seen it happen in the past at the club with previous managers, and like, in any organization, if you, like, even as players, if you see that your manager isn't like there maybe as often as you even are out in Bishopstown, if you're doing rehab or whatever, like, it just breeds that kind of mentality throughout the club, and it's just one aspect of it. I'm not saying it's the sole reason we've maybe been underperforming or we don't have confidence or whatnot, but like, at the end of the day, like, there's so many different reasons go into why a club is fighting a relegation battle, and it seems, again, this just looks eerily similar to like 2023 and, you know, the last time we were relegated in a full season on the pitch.
But Dec, I just want to say here now, and we've already said, and I know people want to hear more from Eileen, as to why, but like, you talk about managers grab, like, we've already said Cork is a small place, Irish football is a small place. Nobody has heard one word of Tim Clancy missing sessions or not being there or anything else. So I have to say that, because I don't think there's any indication.
Yeah, I don't want to say that at all,
happened,
and I hope I made that clear in my thing. Like, it's just, but and
just for your grabbing this club by the scruff of the neck, nobody can do that. Nobody can grab this club by the scruff of the neck while the structures and the, like, I don't want to call, like, I'm not calling Dermot out, like, but it's just, it has to be said, like, you know, nobody can grab this club by the scruff of the neck while Dermot has a finger in every single pie and every single decision being made day to day in Bishopstown, or wants a report on every decision that's made. If what you've said there is true about Damien Delaney meeting Tim every fucking Monday after games, like, just stop the lights, close the doors of Bishopstown, turn off the lights, and lock the place up. Because if that's what is happening, and I hadn't heard that, and I don't know if it is or not, if that's what's happening,
Again, Dick, it's one of those many stories doing
we might as well just,
we're just allegedly speaking, of course.
Just pack it in. Like, I don't know how Eileen would react to that, but fuck it. Like,
I was going to say that probably explains our defensive woes, does it?
Oh God, the mishap between Lines and Druce there. Anyway, probably. Yeah. Oh,
he's like, look at this video of me and Bohemians. This is what we should be doing. Fuck's sake, Tim, come on.
No, move on. Stop. We could go on all day. I'll tell you about the plane trip on the way back from Warsaw. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, I guess I think we've covered so many different aspects to it. Is there any final thoughts, comments on the Tim Clancy departure or the impending arrival of our expected new manager?
I just think that the new manager has to have his own team coming in with him. Like at the moment we have, and I can confirm, a really tactically inept kit man with an earpiece in giving tactical advice.
When you're relying on him, Eileen, in all fairness, he can't even mind his balls.
I've seen him play Football Manager and I wouldn't be trusting him, to be honest. Like, he doesn't even have C license like his sister. So
I've seen him play football.
I know, so if I was better than him as well. Even our younger brother's better than him, and that's saying a lot. But
your mother is better than him.
But whoever's coming in has to have his own team coming in with him. Like, there's obviously an issue with us attracting coaches with assistant managers, and we've seen that. So I think, and that's something like lads I coached at a really low level and managed at a really low level. You need a team around you. Look, Decky will confirm, Galway United women, their backroom team is massive. It's colossal. So you have to have that. You need that in football. You especially need it at a professional level, because you need to be able, and you need people you trust. You can't just rely on, well, this coach is here and this goalkeeping coach is here for 5 years and this kit man is here for 5 years. You need to be able to pick your own team as a manager and it to be people that you trust. And while obviously you do need a Cork element in there, that's really important, I just think that has to be got right. And I think that probably was the real straw that broke the camel's back for Clancy, that lack of his own team. And I think once his assistant once Hamill went, I think it got really, really hard for him, because said it's not, and that's not disparaging on anybody who is in there, because they're all doing their best and they're all kind of covering, and they're very qualified in their own rights, but they weren't who he wanted necessarily in there, and I think that's so important. It's something maybe that as football fans we all underestimate until we actually see, oh wait, you actually do need it. You need a village there.
Eileen, I can't believe you're calling for the kit man to be let go.
I know, but look, these things have to be kind of made. There's holes in the back of the socks. What's going on with the socks? They just, these questions have to be answered.
The fact he allows that and this cutting of socks just to drive me bananas.
I already know how to rant on small socks on Las Damas last night, so I can't talk about socks anymore.
God. Look, I think we're 42, 43 minutes in. This is pre-edit, of course. So I think what we should do is take our first break. We'll be back after the break with a review of the Derry game. Believe it or not, there actually was a game on Friday night. We didn't win, of course. And then we'll cover the mailbag, and we might even take a look at our B team down in Queenstown.
Can I just say before we do, because you asked if there was anything else to be said, I'm just going to speak and appeal to Dermot to realise that this whole situation, the last 3 years since he came into the club, it's not TOTAP's fault. It's not the fan base's fault. It's not whoever else you want to blame. It's time to look in the mirror, right? And say the decisions that have been taken around the football side of the club have been poor, have not worked, and it's time to take better decisions and make better decisions and go with it. If we want to keep going down the road of blaming other people, of blaming bad luck and injuries and everything else, no. They're a result of decisions that have been taken. They're not the reason that the club finds itself in the current situation. I genuinely, truly believe that. I also genuinely, truly believe there's time to change it. Time to turn it around, But Dermot needs to make the correct decisions now. Because we spoke about investment and we spoke about all those things and self-sustainability. There was, 2,700 people there on Friday night at €25 a ticket?
Ooh.
That's not self-sustainable. It's never going to be self-sustainable. If you end up in the first division, you can forget about your self-sustainability. You have to put a pile of money again and build from the bottom up again. You know, so sometimes you have to spend to accumulate. And I don't think that's the attitude we've had so far. And as I said, by all accounts, there's a decent summer budget there. There's things. So maybe that's indicative of some kind of a change in philosophy and some kind of a change in how we're going to operate and do things going forward. And I sincerely hope it is. And I would say genuinely, best of luck to Dermot in making the next appointment and making the decisions that he wants to make. Because as I said, I hope he makes the decisions that result in the football club progressing quickly. Will he? Everybody will have to decide that for themselves, whether they believe he will or he won't.
Time will tell. But I think that, for me, a swift, strong manager appointment now. Start getting the structures in place, as you said, and there is time, especially with the window coming up. And we're not dead rock bottom. And, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Fingers crossed for this year. But on that note, folks, we'll take our first break of the pod. As I mentioned, it was going to be a long one tonight, more than likely. And after the break, we'll, of course, cover the Derry game. There was indeed a match on Friday night, believe it or not. And then we'll cover the mailbag and maybe even take a look at our friends down in Cove and see how they got on. See you soon, TOTAPers.
Hey listeners, whether you're running a fan site, leading a local club, or building a global community of die-hard supporters, there's one tool that can take your forum to the next level: Envision Community. Envision Community is the leading forum software trusted by thousands of communities worldwide. From lively debates to match-day banter, tactical breakdowns to transfer gossip, their platform is built to handle it all. Got a football forum? Whether it's League of Ireland passion, grassroots chatter, or international footy fever, Envision gives you the tools to build a thriving, interactive space for your fellow fans. And it's not just for sports. Envision powers forums of all kinds: tech, lifestyle, gaming, education, you name it. With powerful moderation tools, custom themes, and seamless integrations, it's never been easier to create a space your community will love. So if you're ready to upgrade your forum game, head to envisioncommunity.com. That's envisioncommunity.com, and start building something brilliant today.
Well, that was a very interesting word from our brand new partners, Envision Community. So thanks to them for the excellent support of TOTAP. Moving on now, I guess we'll dive into the Derry game from last Friday. Cork City 1, Derry City 2. Dec, over to yourself, I guess, to surmise what was again another crushing defeat.
What are you surmising? Like, look at the opening goal. Like, where's Team Truce going? Like, you know, like there's so much wrong in that whole. You want to use the word goal, but it's a goal, but it's fuck me, like, you know, it's a goal that should never be a goal. Where's Team Truce going? The ball still ends up going over the head of two centre backs, neither of whom are looking at the ball as it comes across. You know, Liam Boyce is the only one looking at the ball. He gets his head on the end of it, and it's just like there's such a lack of experience back there. And if ever there was a goal that showed the lack of experience, that's it. You have a keeper caught no man's land because he's come miles off his line. Two centre backs, neither of whom are looking at the ball. They're both looking at the striker. Obviously, it's a shot that ends up as a cross and ends up as a brilliant cross. And that's probably where our bad luck is at the moment, because it drops right in Liam Boyce's head. But if you're one of the centre-backs you turn, you can see the flight of the ball, then you can do something about it. Neither one of them turns their head to look at the ball. Neither one of the defenders in there turns their head to look at the ball. How? It's pure inexperience. Pure inexperience. And, you know, that inexperience has cost us all year. And you can say inexperience about Charlie Lyons as well, because he's not an experienced Premier Division footballer. Not an experienced Premier Division centre-back. I don't want to do the whole squad thing again. This is the squad we came in with. Transfer committee, Dermot Usher, Tim Clancy, everybody signed off on it. Everybody's responsible. But if ever there was a goal that just summed up the lack of experience in that back line, it's that goal. And then you go to their second goal. I don't know, am I mad? But Eileen, is that not a carbon copy, an absolute carbon copy, inch for inch, of the goal that Derry scored in the cup game last year to win them the cup game? At the same end, it's the same corner with the same outcome, with the same movement. It's a carbon copy, and I'm kind of looking at it going, and I know, lads, we saw this goal less than 12 months ago, you know?
The inability to defend corners it's baffling. And look, as I said, and I said it last night in Las Damas, as a club, at least we're consistent because our women's team can't defend them either. But Jesus Christ, like that has to be our bread and butter. Like every club coming to play us knows we're an easy target from a corner. Like, and I do think, like, I know Charlie Lyons probably getting a lot of stick, and myself included, I probably give out about him enough. But I think he'd be a different player with a very experienced centre back beside him, but we're leaving him as the experienced centre back, and I don't think
he's playing that role. Like,
and like he's not ready for that, and like I think that's probably even shown in the amount of bookings he gets. Like it's baffling, and like as said, an experienced player alongside him stops at least half of those bookings. Like, it's so frustrating. But the first half of that game, Jesus Christ, like it was as bad as the game of football as what you'll see. Like if there was 2,700 people in there, like surely 1,000 of them wouldn't come back because of how poor like the first half. And I do think we were a lot better in the second half, to be fair.
Agreed,
but like,
yeah.
Like this isn't new. Like, I mean, Bows do this at the moment. They don't kind of seem to play till the 80th minute, and it's actually working out quite well for them. But they end up scoring a few goals and winning the games. But like we're not playing for the first half, and the chances we're coughing up by really simple errors, and they're repeated errors. I think that's just, and again, like maybe that does come down to management. And I think you've both pointed it out, and Wayne's pointed out, like Tim Clancy was a defender by his trade. So like, again, that's a place you would think would be stronger, that like that should be his strong point as a manager, to be able to get across, and as a coaching point to be able to get across. We just give up so many chances and so many easy opportunities, I think, is what's frustrating as a fan base. They're just simple errors that maybe, like, if you were up watching a game in Poppins Field, you might forgive because it's AUL Division 3, but professional footballers can't be making these mistakes week in, week out and not learning from them. Like, I get there's a lot of them are very young. I understand that, but like, you have to learn, and your ability to make a career out of this long term is going to be, can you learn from your errors? And at the moment, and again, it comes down to this, like, do we keep to some of these lads? Are they left here? If you're a parent club watching it, you're going to be saying, are we going to leave them there? Are they learning anything? I'm not sure if they are, apart from building character, like Wayne said last week.
And like, what pained me about the whole thing was after he got the equaliser, like Daniels, the poor guy, like, you know, in fairness to Tim and the club, we lost our two strikers. And then you'd be thinking, like, if we can even muster up some fella from like the Northern Conference in the UK or something that might come over and do a Jamie Vardy on it or something.
Turco FC, is that what they're called?
Oh, yeah, Troro or something, is it? Yeah, not naming any names for obvious reasons. And like, then we get this guy and he scored 2 in Drogheda and he scored again. Like, he's flying and like he's playing every game, and he went down with injury and he worked his absolute bollocks off. Like, you can see that. And like, the defence is just leaving him down. And like, you touched on it there, Eileen, as well. Like, Lyons booked again. Like, I counted there his games. If you include all our competitive games this year, and I'm including the game against Cove in the Munster Senior Cup, the one we lost, he's been booked in 9 out of the 15 games. Like, and the average time of his booking is the 57th minute. So if anyone's listening to this, sorry, Paddy Power, but the bet is Charlie Lyons to be booked before the hour mark in any game. And I'd say you'd get decent odds because maybe the bookies haven't gammed onto it. But like, it's just unbelievable. Like, he's well over, like, every second game he's getting a booking. He went on an unbelievable run there to start with, like 6 bookings on the trot in competitive games. It's just, and yeah, and that goal, like, surely just miscommunication between himself and Troost. I don't think it's all on Troost. And I know Troost has his issues as well, and he's not exactly like a top goalkeeper, and he's learning as well. But unfortunately, like, we just don't have the room in the squad now for we've too many lads that are learning.
Yeah, there's way too many lads that are learning their trade. Like, and even like, say, the corner we conceded from, like, the brilliant tackle from Matty Kiernan that gives Derry that corner. And again, like, I think he does so well. But again, we just have too many lads that are just learning on the job, and it's a really difficult place to be. And especially with a fan base that's starting to turn, like they're young lads to be listening to that. Like, and I don't agree with this. Like, don't boo players. Like, I'm not somebody who would boo a player. I'd probably just stand there and stare them out of it, like kind of a bitter old woman that I am. But like, I can see if some, like, you're paying €25 in, or you've paid for a season ticket.
Yeah,
like, you're entitled to have your opinion. You're entitled to say, like, I don't think this is good enough, because again, that's football. But like, there is an awful lot of really young players in that side. And again, that comes down to transfer committee and the collective there that have allowed this be the squad that we're going into Premier Division football with. Like, you can see the experienced players are just kicking them. They're kicking some of them, like Cathal O'Sullivan just get kicked every game, and it's just the nature of football. And I think a lot of them
Kieran then on the other wing, and I thought, in fairness, I thought he did very well for a young fella, and he did very well for that, like, quick throw, great ball across to Daniels and a great finish. Like, that was like, geez, he showed kind of wisdom beyond his years there in such a tricky environment, like, and so fair play to him. But he's, like, in fairness, and no offense to Matty Kernan, and I hope he does prove me wrong, but like, he's not going to produce top performances week in, week out in the Premier Division.
But no young fellas.
No, they're not.
They're not, like, because it's that consistency that you don't really get.
Kyle isn't even doing that.
No, not until your mid-20s, like, do you know what I mean? Where you're able to produce that week in, week out, and you can just you shouldn't be relying on a 17 or 18-year-old either, like. So I just think, it's frustrating as a fan base, but like, it just has to be better. The standard has to be better. And it's like that first half, the last day, like, was not at all acceptable. I don't think, like, we will score goals. We know we're going to score goals, because I do think we create chances. But like, I think, and it was Decky, you've said it a few weeks, like, realistically, we always have to score too, because this clean sheet is very elusive, isn't it?
It's non-existent. It's not even elusive. It's just, it's not coming, and it's not coming anytime soon. Like, anyway.
But like, how much of that first half, Eileen, was down to the change in shape and change of formation? The fact that Kit Nelson was left out. Then second half, Nelson comes on at half time. The shape changed, and we're right in the game. We get back level. Now, look, lads, we'd be going to apeshit if that throw-in was taken against us, because it was taken about 20 feet further up the pitch than where it should have been taken. But look, it's the first bit of luck we've had in a long time. We took it. Jack finishes it. Maybe it was an OG. Nobody's going to take it off Jack, you know.
I will. Watch it.
Yeah, you know.
No way.
Like, we like, I think Tim had some questions. He would have had some questions if he was still in place. There are aspects of that team selection and formation and tactical setup that we would have questioned massively tonight. You probably don't question it as much now because he's no longer here, so it doesn't really impact the Pats game next weekend, etc., you know. But look, that setup just wasn't right. And to be fair, he changed it at halftime. We get back in the game, and then, as everybody knows, we're just done at a corner. I think it's the same corner that we were done by in the cup game last year. I could be wrong. That's what it looked like to me. And 15 games, no clean sheets. Enough said, really.
Yeah, disappointing evening at the Cross. And yeah, I think, look, just to cover it again and circle back on it, the 2,700, like, I think it's been reported our budgeted average is over 4,000. So like, that's easily what, you know, let's be conservative and average at an average of maybe 15, 17 quid per head. Times 30, you're talking a whole of 20 grand there maybe in our budget attendance. And I know it's not all about every game hitting those numbers, and we've had some games where we've had over 5k, but like, do we think like maybe a new manager boost we might get a little bit, but I don't think we'll hit 4k again for quite some time.
You have to be successful, like, especially at a time where there's other shows in town now, like, and you might have a home game, but maybe the hurlers are out on a Sunday when they're in Limerick, say, so people are going to be travelling there, and they're going to be looking at, where do I take my family? What's better value for money? What's more likely to have a success? Do you know what I mean? That's always going to be an issue in summer months as well. But like, if you're not producing it on the pitch, it's hard to attract people. Whatever about the prices, it's hard to attract people if the tickets are a tenner, to be honest, and things aren't going well, let's be honest. Like, but you will always have your core support, but it's that passing one that you want. And unless you're doing well, they're not going to come to games. And instead, especially at a time when I think there's other shows in town as well in the summer months. And if Cork are going well in hurling, or if Munster are going well in rugby at a time of year, like that has knock-ons, because everybody's feeling the pinch. Like, it's not just the owner of our football club, it's every family are feeling the pinch. And you can't bring someone out to a game Friday night, then go to a game Saturday and go to a game Sunday. You just can't do it. You can't afford it. Like,
Yep. And nice plug for the Cork Limerick game on Sunday as well, Eileen. I'll be heading up myself, and I hope to see Dan there as well. I miss you tonight, Dan.
you'll have to mind Dan now if he's up in Limerick, because I don't know if they really
That's
like
one
him
box
very
ticked.
much.
No, we just have to mention John Cena and Randy Orton now from last Saturday night, but we'll get to that at the end maybe. But let's cover the ratings from the Derry game. So, of course, MVP, and it won't be any surprise, was Jack Daniels. He got a 7.28. We'll round that up to a 7.99. So our MVP, at least on our team, was De Janeiro Daniels. Cahill got a 6.4, Kit Nelson 6.2, and he came off the bench. I think he did have a knock deck, to be fair, and look, with his parent club watching very closely.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think he
That's
did.
fair enough.
I've read that. Matty Kernan got a 5.8, so fair play to him. Mbeng 5.6. I thought he was relatively quiet. Greg Bolger also made his return, so he got a 5.5. Hopefully we continue to see him on the pitch more often than not. And yeah, I guess, look, everyone else then was like 5s or below. Tim Clancy, interestingly enough, got a 3.5, and the referee got a 4.2.
What
So,
exactly did the referee do wrong?
They just,
Or is it just we're
they're
just always
hated.
going to vote
You're
down
just-
referees?
Oh,
now?
you have to-
Notoriously hated.
Yeah, you have to give
Notoriously
it a
hated. Yeah, notoriously hated. Excellent. So I guess with that, and there's not a lot to be said with it. We'll cover the preview for our next game after the mailbag. But I guess we'll get right into the mailbag.
Oh yeah, will we? Okay.
Почтальон Б. Почтальон и черно-белый кот. Только день начнется, Бет с утра
To be fair, Eileen even has a dance now for the Comedy Postman Pat, which
I
is
love
quite
that
entertaining.
version of us.
Mbeng's whole family is listening to this, waiting for the Mbeng's bag. I can't even say it. Like, you've just disappointed an entire
How did I
nation.
forget? How did I forget about Mbeng's bag? Hang on, let's correct the record.
He has got the looks, he has got the style, he is a bowler at the back. He has got a big bag, and it is magnifique. It's Mbeng's bag, baby.
The guy who does the Mbeng's bag sounds awfully similar to Commie Watch. Like, it's amazing, isn't it?
Dolph Lundgren.
Oh dear. Right, moving on then to the mailbag. I will jump over, of course, and priority to our questions now going forward will be given to Patreon subscribers. So head over to patreon.com/TOTAP and you can ask your questions there. We'll put that up every Monday before we record the pod, and you'll be given priority ahead of the minions on Twitter and Instagram. So we'll dive right in. I'll go with the first question from Jason Shanahan. Thanks, Jason, for your support on our Patreon. You asked, what does the Careman think was in Vince's lockbox? I'm sure that's covered in the Netflix documentary, and I don't want to implicate the podcast in the federal investigation that's ongoing there, Jason. So we let justice do its due course there. Richie asks, what's going to happen when the Shed start chanting Usher out or boo him when he's on the pitch? Are we in danger of him just walking away and leaving us in trouble? Eileen.
I think if he has a bit of cop on at the moment, he's just going to kind of put his head down and keep a low profile, because he can, the feeling is there in the air, and he will get boos, he'll get shouted at, he probably gets that anyway. But I think it will get a lot worse. So I don't think he's going to walk away. I don't think that's going to happen. But I would advise maybe just keep a low profile for a little bit.
Yeah, I think he has, to be fair. I think his media stuff and
I don't think he's out on the pitch
dwindled.
as much and into the dressing room as much as he used to be, thankfully. So.
Dressing room?
What?
Moving swiftly on, Adrian Long asks, should we risk relegation by taking the time to appoint a new director of football who then will begin the search for a manager? If it's possible to do this quickly, then that would be great. So I think that what that's saying, Deck, is like, should we concentrate on the structures and getting those right before appointing a permanent manager?
We could have appointed Liam Carney on Monday morning as director of football if we wanted to. I'm really on the Carney director of football bandwagon, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea if it's a job that Liam has any interest or not. But I just think Liam's been brilliant in the academy as director of football. The academy is still his responsibility. He gets to appoint his own successor in the academy. He's going to know who he would want in there, who he would trust, He's very well connected. He understands the club. He has good contacts. I would trust Liam Carney to pick a manager. I would trust Liam Carney to negotiate with a player. I would trust him to spot a player, to do all the things that need to be done. I don't trust the transfer committee to do any of those things. Do you know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about, structures and things like that, and we didn't do it. So now can we stop and appoint it? I don't think so. I think we need somebody to take hold of the footballing side of the club. It looks like that's going to be a manager without a director of football. Hopefully that manager is strong enough to tell people at the top of the club, no, your involvement is not needed in these discussions. Your involvement is not needed in negotiations with players. Your involvement is not needed in scouting players. Your involvement is just not needed on the football side. And as I said, if the next manager comes in, and you spoke about this earlier on, and Eileen mentioned it, managers have egos. They're egotistical. Nobody can do the job without an ego. And people say, oh, Tim Clancy was there for 18 months and he couldn't do X and he couldn't do Y. Tim Clancy believed he would. Eileen is spot on. Of course, Tim Clancy had heard the rumours. Of course, he had heard the setup. He was out of work. He needed a job. And of course, Tim's ego is going to say, do you know what? No, I can change all this. I'll go in there, I'll put my stamp on it and I can change it. And it took 18 months for him to just be completely worn down to the point where he said, I can't change it and I need to get out. And people can say, oh, he lost interest and did he kind of check out? There's every chance he did. But did he check out because his family opened a business? Or did he check out because of everything that was going on around him? And he said, hang on, we're opening a business here. It looks like it's going to be really successful. So I can kind of check out without all the repercussions in my life that maybe checking out 12 months ago would have meant for me,
Yeah, I think Deck, it's more of a case of, unlike most managers in the league, he had a very firm base to fall back on, and he just didn't have to suffer on and wait to get the bullet.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think that's what it was, really. I think he just felt maybe the writing was on the wall, and as has been alluded to, conversations going on in the background about a different manager coming in, and maybe he just thought, you know what, I don't need this. And would any of us do any differently if we were in a comfortable enough position that we could walk into our boss tomorrow and say, sayonara? So I guess only Tim can answer that question. And I think we've, hopefully anyway, Dick, we're happy enough to say this, the door is slightly ajar for him potentially coming on and telling his story on the Other Three Amigos podcast. So hopefully we get that opportunity someday. And, we do wish Tim all the best, genuinely. He seemed like a decent guy, and just obviously didn't work out.
I think that's a possibility. I don't think it's not going to be next week or the week after, But at some stage in the future, I think Tim will be willing to come on, not to chat to us, but to chat to the fan base, to chat directly to the fan base and speak to them, I'm not sure there's much value in speaking to us. The value is in that he speaks to us, or he speaks to the fan base via us, and I hopefully that will happen at some stage in the future.
Might even make that one a Patreon special.
No, we won't. Too important.
Yeah, of course. Billy Darney, more of an opinion than a question. Time for unity, not divisive behaviour. Cool heads needed. Yes, we're all angry, confused, etc., but we need to row in behind all at the club. where we are, and the only way is up. So thanks for that, Billy. Yeah, always, good words of advice there, I think, and we need cool heads in this very turbulent time.
Can I just say, Dick, unfortunately, the only way isn't up. There's a very clear direction that's down as well, and that's the big issue.
I saw a lovely one today, Dick. Wayne sent it on to me. We're top of the micro league now. It's the mini league is gone. Waterford have pulled away, and
it's a heads
we're 2
up
points
battle.
ahead.
Heads up battle.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, interesting times. Thank God Sligo actually, they got caught on Saturday night. That could have made it a very difficult weekend. They missed a penalty, and
they get a penalty after 90 seconds, and you're just thinking like, oh my good God, here we go now. And Elding,
but they're so shit. They are brutal. I still don't think we'll finish bottom. Like, I think at worst we'll have a playoff game because they are diabolical.
Yeah,
I think are they the next team to change their manager? They have to be. Like,
possibly, but I don't think. I think it's a very different situation up there. They know their financial limitations and everything else, so.
Look, moving on then to Philly. So what is the alternative to Usher if he was to go? What or who would you have replacing him? I have to answer this question, folks. Look no further than the original and only Rebel Chief. If the knock on the door comes, I will pay the €1 back and take over the club and bring us back to the promised land.
Have you won the lotto or what?
Yeah, look,
Rich
as I said, I've got the €1, and
lad, I tell you this much, Mike. I tell you, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of confidence in the Carey household, anyway. Christ,
I don't live with him anymore, so the Carey household now is myself, my wife, and the only exclusive undisputed Carey twins.
I always say it about Declan McCormack, but I think even more so for you. Your wife must be one patient woman, by.
She knows her place in the Carey bloodline anyway.
She's the boss, I'd say.
Allegedly. So yeah, but seriously, looking at that one, like, I guess, if
I don't think Dermot's going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere. But if somebody's putting a gun to my head and saying who might, but I don't know, would Brian O'Sullivan and Zeus buy it? Who knows? I
hope so. Brian's a top fella, like, and he's a Cork man and plenty of bobs, more importantly. And obviously I worked with him a little bit towards the end of my tenure, and he did the Zeus deal, and which is up this year actually. I think it's up the end of the season, but
I think it'll be renewed.
I'd hope so. Yeah, Brian's a great guy, and fingers crossed. And fingers crossed he does get involved in the club in a more formal capacity. But I know he's obviously super busy and a super successful man himself. And we'll wait and see and hope, I guess. Next one's from Sean O'Connor. Question put to all: can you name the strongest 11 squad that is fit? Also, based on who's currently available injured, what is the strongest 11? And compare who is out injured gets into the 11.
Journalist Sean O'Connor.
Not quite. The former League of Ireland manager.
So what the question?
Can you name our strongest 11 when everyone's fit, I guess, is his first part of his question. And then our strongest 11, with just what's available and injured at the moment.
Probably the first game of the season. Like, would you put Mbeng in?
Yeah, I'd say Mbeng. Kit Nelson didn't start that game, so you'd maybe put him in. Like Shawnee Keats. What about Daniels? Like, his goal to game ratio is phenomenal for what we've seen. Like, does he drop to the bench? Would you start him ahead of Keating, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, you probably would on current form, but again, like that.
Yeah.
Declan, you look like you're deep in thought there.
It's very hard to do. Like, I mean, obviously, True starts on goal. Or right back, it's probably Dara Crowley.
Lyons, Anderson, Mbeng.
Mbeng. I'm still playing Mbeng at centre half, to be honest with you. See, I'm not convinced that Charlie Lyons makes a fully fit starting 11. I'm going to be perfectly honest with people. But then, he does actually, because you can't play in Bang
Anderson
and Anderson together and whatnot, you know. To play the three of them, I think I'd probably go with 3. Crowley at right wing back, Benny Couto, Greg Balger, Kit Nelson, Sean Murray, Keats, or Shawnee, and Keats or Jack. I think that would be a toss-up on what we saw from Keats in the first number of games that he played. I'm probably forgetting somebody very obvious now, but
yeah, I think that. Sorry about that one, Sean. The question was just asked in such a confusing way, but I think we covered it in general. The next comment is absolute shithousery from our own Eileen Ring, abusing her Patreon subscription. Collie O'Neill's Rebel Army.
woo!
I didn't know I was going to be on the podcast when I said that, but I would just like to say, Jess Farry did point out last night that Dermot Usher has like the scope here to really get rid of Declan McCormack, because he could appoint Collie O'Neill.
Relegate the club and bring Collie O'Neill in. I think that would seal the deal,
exactly.
Wouldn't it? Rest in peace, TOTAP.
I can guarantee you this much: I'd be locked every Friday night and anyway. every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night as well. I'd say, Christ.
Oh, this is a nice one. Dylan asks, Usher in or Usher out?
I'm in, but he needs to change. He needs to step back from in a football capacity. Run the business as you're running it, but let the football to the football people. But I actually am Usher in, which I'm sure will surprise many.
I think I'm the same. Genuinely think I'm the same. There's just too much. It'd be too tumultuous for him to go. He's not going to go. I don't think it's in his character. It's not in his nature. He's not going to back away from this. He's not going to step down from it, which is actually a good thing. But Eileen's right, yeah. The football side of things has to change massively. It just has to.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with similar thoughts to yourselves. I think like there's a lot to learn, and I think things have improved slightly, I would say, hopefully over the last 2 or 3 years in a lot of aspects that we've already covered on the pod. And I just think that trajectory of learning now needs to increase massively. I'm sure Wayne is going to love that corporate barg I just vomited out there. So yeah, we'll move swiftly on. Stephen Burke asks, have you faith that the club will appoint the right managerial team to replace Tim?
No.
Oh my goodness. I leave that one to both of you, then I won't give an answer to that.
But you're like, how can we have faith in anything at the moment? The way the last few years have gone footballing wise first, like it's very hard to have any faith in the football
I think
club.
it's a case now we need to all be proven wrong. And I think, look, as Cork City fans, we would all absolutely love to be wrong. Love to be wrong. We just have to be realists. From
and like whoever is appointed, we're all rowing behind it like it's the name's job, but of course we will.
Oh Jesus, yeah. We'll be on the first plane over to Uzbekistan or whatever for the Europa League qualifiers, like when it all goes right. If UEFA let him in. Kevin Cronin asks, if you were to draw up a managerial candidate shortlist, who would you have on it? Not a lot of unemployed decent candidates available in Ireland, plus the fact that the City job now seems like an unattractive job for the first time ever due to our league position, poor budgets, and an owner with a strong personality. So I guess, candidates are like, I don't know, I've seen them all, like Keith Long, Vinnie Pert, Jar Nash,
Collie O'Neill.
Can I throw a name out here? And listen, I got eviscerated on the forum for this the other day, but I genuinely believe it. Kieran Quilduff is going to be a top Manager. I've no doubt about it. I've seen him interact with players, and people say, "Oh, you know him. He's your buddy." He's not my buddy. I've spoken to Kieran twice. I think he was on Las Damas once. I spoke to him after the cup final. I probably interviewed him maybe 3 times, but I've seen him around his players. I've seen how he conducts himself, how his players conduct themselves. And sometimes when you're just looking at somebody, and it can be an accountant, it can be an engineer, it can be a Formula 1 driver, it could be a hurler, it can be, and you just kind of go, I think this person's going to go right to the top of their industry. Now, when I say right to the top of their industry, I mean, be a very, very good League of Ireland manager. Will he do anything beyond that? I don't know. Sometimes you have to be brave. And as you said, look at the list of names. If you're going within Ireland and League of Ireland experience and whatnot, there's no, like, maybe a Shane Keegan who has done relatively well, but sometimes you can be brave, and I don't know, maybe I'm mad, and I'll probably get eviscerated for this again, and I'm sure, look, anyway, that Kieran won't leave Dundalk, and he's probably like Tim, he's living up the country, family settled, etc., etc., but somewhere in the back of my head, there is a part of me thinking I'd love to be big and brave and just go with the gut feeling and say, this guy over the next 10 years is going to be good and he's going to do something impressive. So why not give him a shot here,
Yeah. Respect your thoughts on it, Dick, albeit, there might be a bit of favoritism sprinkled in, but yeah.
No, like favoritism would be, from me, like, it would be fair to Declan, and I will say, like, I don't think Declan's great friends with Kieran or anything like that. I wouldn't, like, I agree with Declan, but I am biased because I am friendly with him. But he will be a brilliant manager. Like, he had an Athlone team, brought them from nowhere to winning a league title in the women's league. Like, no one would have called that out 2 years ago.
Fairness, like,
and like, he's Dundalk side play a really good brand of football. He's an excellent coach. I know players who played under him. Again, I just think, I don't know, I couldn't see him moving to Cork. And again, I think, Declan, you said it, like, we need someone who comes in, like, and can really grab the club and kind of pull everyone, and, like, to quote Billy Dorney there, like, that unity, that's something we need. And we're at our best as a club and as a fan base and as a team when we're all in this together. Like, and I do think you need someone to pull it in. And the reality is the owner's not capable of doing that because some people's minds are so made up on it. Do you need a manager who can come in now and just pull everybody in like that?
But Kieran has played here and he has scored goals here, like, and obviously he's played for the opposition as well. So he would, he would have a good insight and a good understanding of how the fan base work, what we want, what we need to see from managers, players, etc. Look, I know it's very left field. You're not getting him out of Dundalk. He's probably not moving. He's not coming out. But, the question was asked. So
yeah. And I'd be really concerned about how much faith he'd have in the kit man's tactical advice. I mean, that would be a very big concern.
Well, he could take the earpiece off him, and that might solve the problem.
Jesus, the size of the head on him after this episode, he won't fit into Bishopstown tomorrow.
We know fear of that.
Yeah.
If your head fit in there for years, it'll be grand.
Oh, God. His head's going to get stuck in the washing machine now when he has the earphones on and he's reaching out.
They'd extend the door out there a few years ago when you came out. They were fine.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, we're a great pairing, in fairness. Like, geez, yeah, stick the two of us in a room and you'd have a great crack off it. And last but not least is Cian O'Callaghan. So he says, let's pretend Usher walks for a second. He won't. Is there a different way you can have the makeup of Forrest, or what would Declan Carey recommend? We all know you can vote in 4 good guys, but you will always have bad eggs. How can we avoid that? There'll always be fellas with really, really long noses and a winky face. I guess I'll try and answer as best I can. Like, I guess, look, we've learned an awful lot of lessons now as a fan ownership, and like, look, it's been mentioned today as well on different forums. A former board member spoke out a bit about this, and like, I guess we won the double in 2017, and everyone thought like there was no stopping us now. And look, the right decisions just weren't made, in my opinion. And I could see it happening because I was involved in the club, and then I tried to join the board. And I hope, Cian, when you mentioned there, 4 good guys, like, I hope you consider me one of those. And I tried to steer the club in a different direction in 2018 and could only really do that when there was massive changes in the board then in 2019 and onwards. And look, you saw what happened. Like, when we brought the club to a realistic situation, look, then the pandemic, everything else, we got relegated down to the first division. And I just think, like, look, lessons have to be learned, and that, the members have to hold boards accountable and understand that it's like a hugely responsible position, and it's not just like, oh, I love the club, I'm going to run for the board and I give me a few votes. I think the time will come eventually where the club is under some kind of fan ownership model again. Maybe not in my time, maybe it might be sooner than you think, but like, I think there's plenty of lessons we can learn, and I just hope that people don't forget it. And as long as I'm breathing anyway, I'll be sure to remind everyone of those dark days. I lived through enough of them, and I suffered, my family suffered, and everyone else to make sure the club is still here. And I certainly won't forgive some of those mistakes. And we'll hopefully, if things do come back, that again, it's all about the members holding the board accountable and not getting distracted by the apparent success on the pitch and cups that are secured with credit cards. Like, it just it's not viable, and we should scrutinise at every opportunity.
Kerry twins at the helm in a few years.
Oh God, I joked with my wife. She was like, my small fella, he's 2 in July, but he was kicking the ball out the back, and she was like, "There you go, someday you'll be playing for Cork City." And I was like, "Don't ever aim that low. Aim for the absolute head of the table. You'll be the Cork City chairman someday." And
I was going to say Shamrock Rovers, is
it? That's Wayne's young fella. Come on now. And then I'll just jump over to social media. The questions seem, eerily similar to the Patreon questions. So Colin Sheehan asks, would you take John Caulfield? Declan?
Oh man, I was so anti-JC at the end. But no, in our predicament, in the spot we find ourselves, I would personally, but I don't think like JC is the complete opposite to Dermot Usher. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's the most un-Dermot Usher-like manager in Europe. I wouldn't even say in Ireland, I would say in Europe. Like, John wants a big budget, he wants to spend, he wants complete control. John Caulfield is a director of football might be an interesting turn. It's not something I gave any second a thought of until it just popped into my head this second. But John's a winner. Yeah, I would. Maybe more inclined in a director of football role than a manager's role, but something I'd have to think about and maybe come back to next week.
Yeah, I was told, Deck, close to the takeover and all that the club would never have any interest whatsoever in bringing him in. Whether that still remains to be true, I'm sure, there might be a more friendliness with the whole Opera House thing and all that, but look, yeah.
And look, John was the first person we ever had on this podcast when we started up back in the day, and he said that night that he would never return to Cork City, that he kind of believed that you were one and done in life, and that you shouldn't go back and things like that. So if John still believes that, and I believe he did tell people over the weekend that he wasn't interested and, wouldn't be in any way in contention for the role. So, you got to take that verbatim as well,
Yeah. It's an absolute 100,000 million % yes for me anyway. No, absolutely not. No, I would. Oh my God, I'd put my little young fella there, who's 2 in July, in charge ahead of him. To be honest, anyone but him, and that's my own opinion. And I just think, fair enough, Dick. I understand we might get a little bounce or whatever, but I think the long-term impacts on the club just would be too hard to recover from, and it'd be just going over old ground again, and the same behaviours would emerge, and I don't think it would end positively as you described. That would be my own opinion.
Is there any fan base more than Cork City that are so genuinely obsessed with bringing back what was there before? It's outrageous.
The recency bias and the revisionism and the I forgot about all that. Oh, mother of God! It's and players as well. Same with players.
Yeah, banana stuff
Yeah. Oh my God! And I'll go to one last question then. That's enough about him. Luke O'Mahony. Ultimately, our defensive recruitment has been our biggest downfall, and building our backline around Lions. Would it be fair to say this is the biggest factor in our lack of success on the pitch, or what does it come down to? 18 points dropped from winning positions, is it?
Yeah,
yes. Sorry, Eileen, go on.
No, you go on.
No, you.
I think we said it in the... And we are honing in on Charlie Lyons, and it sounds like we're bashing him. But I think he's been left all at sea, as he said. I think he's been put in a position. He's the captain of the club. He's that experienced in the back line. And he was not ready for that role. Again, I think he would be a very, very good centre-half if he had an experienced centre-half alongside him. And that's what should have been done. But that is ultimately our big failing, because they're no clean sheets is insanity at this stage of the season, and the amount of leads we cough up, and even we score early, there's no enjoyment in scoring early now, because we're turn it around anyway. there's no enjoyment with anything. But that I'm kind of slow to hammer Charlie Lyons personally, because I think it's the recruitment that's hammered him more than anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I think, like, it's very obvious the no clean sheets and that, but I think people kind of knew coming into the season that we mightn't be the best defensively, but we were going to be very, very good attacking wise, you know. And then Shawnee goes down, and Keats goes down, and Dykesteel goes down. Now, people know I don't really rate Malik Dykesteel, but people at the club did, and they do. And, you know, there was this attacking unit that there was a touch of a philosophy that, right, okay, we might give up 1, but we'll score 3. You know, we might give up 2, but we'll still score 3. We might even score 4 for the crack if we feel like it, you know. And it's a dangerous philosophy to have. And obviously it falls apart massively when you pick up the injuries that we picked up. But ultimately, as Eileen says, if you can't keep a clean sheet, now 1 in 15 games, there's only one way you're going. Like, and I'm a great believer. I played to no level, but when I did play, I centre back. Like, and you like, everything is built from a solid defensive unit. You know, it just has to be built at any level. Get your defensive structures right, your defensive unit, your defensive players right, and build from there. I think this year we went the other way. We built from the top of the pitch and didn't ignore the back line, but, you know, the back line suffered because of what we put together at the top of the pitch. And then the 2 lads get injured, and all of a sudden it's like, oh Christ, we can't keep the ball out of the net, but we can't get more than one a game. And that's an awful, awful position to find yourself in, you know.
Oh, and I guess we'll cover a few light-hearted ones now. Is it true that Corky has asked for a transfer? You know, we can't confirm or deny that, Tony Daly. But look, I'll put the word out there to my old buddies in Bishopstown, and I'll see if I can get an answer on that one. And then, last but not least, on Instagram, we'll take one. Cork City FC Sean asks, "Who is Decky going to have a drink with now that his best friend has left?"
I mean, Jesus Christ! Like, I spoke to, sure, I could say, I suppose, like, I could always say it or whatnot, like, but this is going on. Your man Richie saw me below in Cove talking to Tim Clancy, because as I walked into Cove and walked around in front of the dressing room before the game that night, the pre-season game, and I had said hello to Mick Ring on my way in, making sure that nobody saw me say hello to him for obvious reasons. You know, just, "Hey Mick," or things, "Hey Deck, how are you?" Kept on my way, and the next thing Mick shouted, "Tim, do you want to meet this fella?" You know, and I turned around and, "Oh, all right, how you doing?" And, or no, Mick said, "Tim, do you know who this fella is?" You know, and Tim went, "I'd say I do, all right," you know, and we just started chatting, and we chatted for 10 minutes about different things. Tim made a few jokes about maybe we should hide behind the stanchion in case anybody sees us, you know. And your man was ready, you know, like, you know, he must know what was coming. And yeah, we just, you know, had a chat, shot the breeze. Richie saw it and came on every week then about me drinking pints with Tim and meeting Tim and whatnot, you know. But that's just life. Like, I don't think for a second Tim had any issues with this podcast. I never spoke to Tim outside of that. I didn't have his number. I never messaged him until today. I said, no, I just messaged him asking when you do the pod, which is what I do. And he said, look, yeah, probably sometime in the future, but not at the moment. And that's fair enough. And, you know, that's where we are. So who am I going to have a drink with? The whole Twitter live stream or whatever it is, the whole Twitter spaces, all the crew that split at Twitter spaces on a Friday night.
We know Callie O'Neill won't talk to you, like, so.
Huh?
Yeah,
Callie won't talk to you, like.
We're putting, we're trying to put plans together for those Twitter spaces in it from a long-term capacity. I know we did the 9:45 live in the past, and of course we did the impromptu one then last Friday night. So we'll try and put a plan together for that, and we'll let TOTAPers know our plans for those Twitter spaces. It was extremely popular, as you said earlier, 800 listened in. So many thanks to everyone. And as mentioned, that Twitter space is available in partial capacity on our Patreon.
I think the thing we should mention about the Twitter spaces deck is, like, it was extremely popular because of the subject matter.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
we
yeah,
discovered, like, you know, when you do them every week, they probably don't work as well.
Yeah.
Every journalist in the country was on it on their burner account. You know, there was players on burner accounts. There was other managers, other club owners. Like, everybody was on it, just listening to the carnage, and one drunk Cork lad after another coming on to give their opinion, you know. And it was
there were
just
some good ones, though, in fairness.
Oh,
there
no,
was-
absolutely. There was some. Listen, there was a lad came on and he said Tim quit and he should be fucked down and everything. And he made some really, really interesting points, like, you know, that Tim quit in the fan base and quit in the club. And I didn't agree with it, but it was an extremely interesting,
Yeah.
probably unpopular opinion at the time to hear. But I think it's actually an opinion that's gaining more traction the longer we go on, you know.
Yeah,
So
we'll try and have a look
yeah.
at those, and I know some other ideas we had is maybe bring back the WhatsApp voice notes, because like we had one featured in the pod earlier, so you never know, people might have matured since we last did those things, and you know, there'll be less of the dogging
Don't
and
want
more
them to
of the.
you don't want them to mature.
You'd have to
like.
blast
I
the
know.
dogger off, but that would be the problem.
I
You'd be
know.
fine.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I think Ronaldo, like Scotty asked him, I think that
It
was
was
Ronaldo
definitely
on the
him.
Twitter spaces. He just wouldn't admit it, like, you know.
It was 100% him.
In the interest of time, look, just to cover off our friends down in Queenstown, you know, I'll skip the whole B team jingle because I don't think we're in a position to cover it. But congratulations to Cove, another a 2-0 win away to Wexford, and also just as well.
Just dawned on me. They played Dundalk at home next Friday night.
You could
Yeah.
have. You're on.
Kilduff's in Cork on Friday, like. Do you know?
Interesting.
Lads, the stars are aligning.
That's
It's
who he's
all like-
drinking with, lads. That's who he's drinking with.
It's all the stars are aligning. Ah, Christ, I'm going to have to go to Coleman's Park on Friday night.
You just don't want me on the controls deck. The jacking off will have a whole new meaning now down in
Look,
Cove. With
I'm going to
yourself
have to,
and
I'm
Kilduff.
going to have to go to Cove on Friday night and stick a
Ah,
microphone in Kieran Kilduff's face and ask him if he got
Jesus.
any interest.
Thought you were
and
going
being
to stick
Cork City
something else in
manager.
his face there for a second. Anyway, that's enough about our friends down in Queenstown. Moving a bit closer to home as well, just a massive shout out as well to our Down syndrome team. A great bunch, and they finished third in the 2025 Cardis Cup. So massive congrats to them and all the players, their families, and the coaches involved. Massive achievement, and yeah, we saw all the photographs of the celebrations today, and yeah, long may it continue.
Absolutely. And look, you know, we see them, like, because Dan Horgan tweets from the training session, like, those lads train, like, they train 2 nights a week or whatever it is. They have their games, they have their, you know, they prepare like a Cork City team should prepare. And they went up to Dublin on Sunday and finished third. Like, it's probably as close as any Cork City team is going to get to winning something this year. Like, you know, so for them to finish third is an exceptional performance, an exceptional achievement. And as Decca said, congratulations to them all from everybody in TOTAP Towers. It's very, very proud of you guys.
It is,
And, like-
and it's something I think the club has probably lost a lot, that community aspect. So I think big credit as well to Anya Donovan and Jerry Byrne, who are in there. Like, they're the people you want involved with your club, like volunteers that just do everything for it. And I know all the players and the players' families really appreciate all the work they do. And it's a good news story, and I think we'll cling to those when we have them at the moment. And that, I think that community aspect of our football club is something that has been the bedrock for so long, and I think in a lot of aspects forgotten. And it's brilliant to see something like that, and all the pictures there you're seeing on social media today are great. Like,
What about the main man, Stewie, as well? Like, you know, picking up a medal today. Like, what about his hit the bar at the cross there a couple of years ago?
sensational.
The greatest, I honest to God, like, people ask me for, like, say, my top moments when I was the chairman or whatever, and like, we made a presentation to him as well, like a few weeks later and stuff like that. That's up there, like.
It's absolutely up there. One of the great moments in Turner's Cross.
Absolutely, yeah. Jesus, unbelievable stuff. So, Stewie, congratulations again, bud. You're, you know, picking up the medals. I met him there down at the Cork match a few weeks ago as well, and yeah, great time for Stewie. He's a top man. So, moving swiftly on, I guess we have the preview for Pats away on Friday. Guess we'll try and make this as short and sweet as we can, and you know what will behold us, who knows. But over to yourself, Eileen, first for your thoughts on Friday night.
They're all really positive. No, look, it's tough. Like, obviously, because we're down where we are in the table, maybe people aren't paying attention. But like, like the title race as it is absolutely nuts because there's so little between them, like, and they all kind of dropping points to each other. And I think Galway went from like 2nd to 8th in the matter of 2 games, and like I think Pats maybe haven't hit the heights that we all thought they would. But at the same time, like they're a dangerous beast with the amount of like talent they have in their squad is kind of have a bit of an embarrassment of riches. An owner who obviously doesn't believe in football clubs and is willing to pay big money. But look, I don't know. We're hearing that it's Greg is going to be on the sideline. Will he be able to get something out of the players maybe that Tim hasn't in the last few weeks? You hope. I think during the last kind of couple of years when we've had managerial changes, forgot the bounce that goes with it. So maybe this is the one now that Greg Bulger is going to get that bounce. You would hope that Jack Daniels, that I don't think it was anything too serious the other night. And obviously Shawnee was there. I would question, what should Shawnee have been on the bench? They didn't look likely that they kind of wanted to use him. But look, he has another week behind him and he obviously seemed to get through that okay. So you would be thinking, hopefully we'll get a bit more out of him. But look, it's a tough place to go. But again, no one expects anything. It was not even our own fan base expect anything out of us. So look, you go up there, try to be a bit defensively solid, not be giving up these cheap opportunities because they have players from midfield on, as we found out the last time. Like they have players that can punish you very, very easily and in a split second. Even when you kind of think a game, you have someone like Forrester that just ping a ball in from 30 yards out, you know. So yeah, hopefully we'll finally see a bit of a bounce and a clean sheet.
Are Pats the most boring side in the league? I mean, they're just like, they came down to the cross, they went 2-0 up, and they had no interest in doing anything other than passing it around and seeing out the game. Now, look, that's fine, that's modern football and whatnot, but like, I don't know, like, I think there's something not right up there to my eye. Like, they have all these players like Ebezelli, Mason Melia, Aidan Keena, you know, Chris Forrester, all these great attacking players, and they're just beyond fucking boring. Like, you know, it's like they're playing for a 1-0 every time, and like they went up 1-0 away to Shells the other night, and it's just, let's see it out. Let's do it. Shells caught them twice in injury time. I think it was really, really late, the second goal, you know. Shells do them, and it's just, it's almost like Kenny is not the manager now that he was. That it's almost like the game has changed, and Stephen's gotten left behind a little bit. Now, like that could come back to haunt me massively. I'm aware of that. Like, but they should be doing much, much better for the quality of player that they have and the money they've spent and the money they're paying Kenny and everything else, you know. So, but look, we don't even know what the managerial setup is going to be. I presume Greg plays, has an influence on the coaching and the decision making and everything else, but who's going to manage the sideline? Will it be Leon Carney? You know, will it be Anthony Fenley? Will it be, you know, Greg Yelverton, whoever it may be? You know, it's going to be a whole committee thing, obviously, or, you know, is Greg going to be manager, so therefore he doesn't play, etc., etc., etc. Like, who knows? And we can't say here we're going to go 3 at the back or 4 at the back or 5 at the back because it's a whole new management setup. So we have no idea what they're going to want to do or how they're going to do it. We've nothing to base it on. So with that in mind, I'm going to say we win 3-1.
Will Cathal O'Sullivan be back from London and his excursions to Crystal
tonight,
Palace?
which is Monday night, he's at the EPL 2 semi-final, sitting directly behind Glazer, who is what's his name? Glasner, is it?
Glasner,
Crystal Palace manager. There's a photo floating around, Cathal O'Sullivan in front of him, Glasner, Paddy McCarthy, and a couple of other lads. Parish, who owns Crystal Palace, is in the same photograph. So, yeah, lads, it's adios, amigo, Cathal, and very best of luck to you, you know.
It's a matter of time at this stage, so we'll wait for the look. We'll have the news first anyway, more than likely. So yeah, I guess to wrap up there on the Pats game, quick predictions, Eileen.
2-0 City.
Hold
What
on,
did you say?
hold on. I have
I said 3-1 already. I'm not changing.
3-1 City.
Yeah.
I'm dreaming of the clean sheet, as I believe.
Yeah, I'm going 3-0 Pats.
Oh, jeez.
Pats will have no desire to score 3 unless
I think they're
somebody
at
clips,
home.
unless somebody clips all this up and puts it in the dressing rooms. They all go, oh, fuck them, yeah, we'll go and score 5 now, but
Yeah, no, I think because they're at home, they'll be a bit more.
they're not shells, so nobody at Pats will have done that,
Oh, excellent. Thanks, Dick. So we'll, I guess, wrap up there for this week, folks. What a monstrous pod! It's touching on over an hour and 45.
That's why Wayne isn't
without
here. He
edit.
knew it was going to be a long one. Like.
Oh, he's thanking his lucky stars now. He's nowhere near this one tonight, and I'm sure he'll try and run a mile from the editing. I guess any closing remarks, Dick?
It's only an hour and 45 minutes. I don't get what all the bother is about,
Short one.
Could have doubled it. Yeah, it's a short one. Closing remarks? No. Look, I think we've said this before, and I think was it Billy Dorney said it there as well. Like, we actually do have to kind of rally around and get back to the whole us against them kind of scenario. I understand it's difficult for the fan base to do that at the moment, but it's what's required. We're in a battle. There's just, it looks like it's a heads up between ourselves and Sligo. We all believe that we're better than them, that we can put them down, and that we will win a playoff no matter who might be against. That's what we believe. It's what we have to believe. People have said to me today, get the players back from injury, make a few good signings in the summer, and you won't even have to worry about a playoff. And that's hard to believe with 8-point gap. But look, the one thing I guess is I don't think the players ever lost the fan base. Everybody knows they work hard, they're trying, they haven't quit, they haven't given up, and I think that's acknowledged then by the fact that the fan base haven't turned on the players. I don't think the fan base will turn on the players because we can all see they're giving what they have, they're giving everything, and that's all we ever ask of City players. Quality is quality, but effort is the minimum requirement, and that's what they're giving. So, look, I think we just need to buckle down. It's hard to rally behind the club. I understand that. I mean, nobody, I'm probably one of the people who's most accused of rallying against the club, but I'm not rallying against the club. I'm rallying against what I see as mismanagement of my football club at a very senior level. And I just want things to be right. I want things to be better. And that's what everybody wants, And I think we just need to row in behind the players, row in behind whoever the new manager might end up being, row in behind Greg and the lads that take the games until such time as that appointment is made, and row in behind Dermot Usher. And whether we agree with him, not agree with him, agree with his philosophy, not agree with his philosophy, he owns this football club, and we have to rally in behind. Especially while the players are on the pitch those 90 minutes. We have to. If we don't, we're going to beat ourselves. We're going to do ourselves untold damage, and we can't have that. It's hard enough now. The dubs are circling. The press conference last week, all of a sudden last Wednesday's press conference, I pointed out to you guys, the Dublin journalists all of a sudden were in the press conference. Smelling
the story now, aren't they?
Because they could smell blood. Yeah, they could smell blood. Now they probably got the blood a lot earlier than they expected. So, if we find ourselves in more and more trouble and it's Cork City are going to be relegated, the dubs are circling. It's what they want. They want, I said to a journalist over the weekend, if a Dublin club was being run like this, in terms of self-sustainability, no support staff, lack of medical staff, all that thing, no third-tie striker, short of centre-backs, there'd be fucking uproar. The Dublin media would be all over it. But again, it's as Rico always said, they don't give a shit about us down here in Cork. So we need to start giving a shit about ourselves. We need to stand up and say, look, we're Cork City and we're fucking better than you. And we know it. And until we start doing that as a football club, not as a fan base, but as a football club, we're going to find ourselves in trouble. There's still time to turn this around. It takes a good summer window and it takes good decisions at the top of the club. But it can be done. And I hope it will be done because we need it to be done. There's no other way.
Yeah. Eileen, any?
No, I think that's the perfect note to finish on. I think that's a good rallying cry from Mr. McCormick.
Yeah. And I think just from my perspective, like, you know, for the ownership and like, we want Dermot Usher and Mr. Cronin to be successful, and we want Cork City to be successful, and for Cork City to be successful, like, they will have to be, and the fans don't want them to fail, because if they fail, the club fails and we get relegated again, and that's not what this is all about. Like, we want the club to succeed and thrive, and that's what I wanted multiple years ago when I vouched for this and voted this in, and I did it with the best of my intentions. And I know from joining this podcast now, I've probably torched the Ballincollig bypass from Knocknaheeny out to Bishopstown, and there's no way for me ever to get out there again. And I'm just trying to offer my own thoughts on it and opinions. And look, I want the club to stay up, and I want it to be successful, and I wanted to run successful events, and I wanted to have a good team on the pitch as well to you know, to drive that on even further, because you know the way this club is. If we've got a winning team, you won't be able to get a team in the Golf Classic, and you won't be able to get a seat in the Comedy Night. That's just the way it is. The positivity just breeds around the club, and the men's first team is successful, and that's just the reality of it. And the sooner the club realises this, you know, the sooner I think things will start to change, and I hope they will. And I guess we'll leave it there, amigos, and be sure to catch us on patreon.com/TOTAP. Across all our social media channels. Decky has got his finger up again.
Yeah, because I just got a WhatsApp from somebody involved in the game in this country that says, if it is Nash, you've got a good one. So who knows?
Excellent. Well, that's great news, Deck, for your anonymous tipster. Thank you, Mr. Anonymous Tipster. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you every week providing endless content for TOTAP to play with.
This
the cauldron.
person has never provided content for this podcast before. I can promise you that much.
Anyway, we'll wrap up there, folks. As I was saying, catch us on patreon.com/TOTAP across all the social media channels: X, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. More to come soon and on that front as well. I've been your host, the original Rebel Chief, Declan Carey. And with that, we say
Adios.
Adios.
Cero, miedo, amigos.
Hey, toe tapper. As you know, everything is increasing in price. Extra small clothes, anger management classes, raw liver is the same price as gold. And kids' sweets used to have 20 per pack and now only have 5 in each one. And Jack Doherty is on course to score 100 goals. And he's going to bleed us dry. We need you to help the gang by joining our Patreon for exclusive pods, news and much more. For $5 a month, you can ensure that Wayne doesn't smash up his laptop, that Dan has really small clothes, Eileen is satisfied, and Declan gets lots and lots of jellies. Head to patreon.com/TOTAP to support the cause.